Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep, brought to you by Options House. And we're all just on the edge of our seats here. And Joe, why don't you tell our listeners why?
Why don't you tell our listeners why, Joel? I want to hear your reason.
Because we have a very, very special guest coming on
That's
today.
right, we sure do. After we got her rescheduled, the lovely Rachel Fox of Fox on Stocks will be our special guest at 9 a.m. Eastern Time today. Little time zone issue last time, so apparently Californians don't know that when it's 9 a.m. here in Michigan, it's 6 a.m. on the West Coast. So she'll be joining us today, and then of course it's Tuesday, so we've got the Nic Chahine Options Outlook, but don't worry about the audio quality today. We have fixed that issue with him, and it'll be freaking tastic. I almost cursed right there. Sorry, everyone.
Uh,
No cursing.
and listeners, listen to Nick because I've been jotting down the notes on some of the things that he said over the last couple of weeks and stuff, and he's pretty on the money. He's made some good calls with the market, so I'm going to be jotting down some notes as well.
Well, if
So
you check out any of Nick's options outlook pieces on Benzinga.com, you can actually get a preview of his portfolio. He runs one of our auto trade products, creating income with option spreads on MarketFi, and you can see his incredible track record with his stock and options picks. Isn't that right, Joel?
yeah, no, he's good, and has good risk reward ratios, and I like the way he approaches the market. So. Dennis, we're bouncing around pretty good this morning. S&P's up almost 8 stakes. I guess it's the Putin rally here.
We have been everywhere on Putin's comments. He just gave a 45-minute address there, and the S&P futures were bouncing all around, and they're closing up after his address just ended here about 15 minutes ago. We popped another 7 points, so we are now up 7 here. Overnight range 1852.50 at the lows. And on Putin, went as high as 1866 and a quarter. We're now trading 1865. So the rally continues here, Joel.
What contract are you looking at, Dennis?
Oh, you know what? And then because I reset my workstation, there you go. It's okay. So I scratched up on the
Jeez.
record. That
Oh
was the
my
March.
God.
You can beat me over the head with your wooden stick there, Joel. 1845.50 is the low. 1859.50 on the June futures. So
Okay,
it still
gosh.
works. It still works. They're still trading those numbers. But we were quoting the March. So now we're quoting June.
Okay, we took out yesterday's high. That's really all you need to know. 55.75, $2 above there. Minor support level. Kind of a air area here up to 67.75. That's the next target on the upside. That would be your 4-day highs. So just kind of recouping those losses pretty quickly from the break that we had last week. We're just right back up.
Yeah, the buy the dippers continue to win this game. Every time we pull back, they just seem to come right back in. And that's what's happened here again. Now, I don't know. There was still a little bit of uncertainty here, obviously. Headlines, you can see how much we moved just on Putin's speech there. We were basically bouncing around 10, 12 points. So we still have a lot of headline risk out here. I wonder if we start to approach the highs or get, 5, 10 points off the highs, if some nervous longs start to take some money off the table. I just don't know if I see this, rally, going up another 20 points here today.
And let's also just talk about, I know it's a little bit early, but we got a big day on Friday. We have a big day coming up on Friday, Dennis.
Yeah, what's going on Friday?
Oh my gosh, Triple Witch.
Is it triple? Is it the triple witch? Maybe it's option expiration, but I didn't
Well,
realize
it's
it's
the
triple.
March,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. Yeah,
God,
I should
Dennis.
know that. I just quoted the wrong contract.
Oh my,
So we
what
got
is
the
going?
triple witch happening. I'm sleeping at the wheel here this morning. Obviously, we always have a lot more volatility on the big option expiration days, but when you get on the March and on the June and on the September, on the December, those tend to be even more volatile. So we could be really bouncing around there at least Friday morning as those option traders hedge their positions.
Yeah, a lot of jockeying before that too as well. So right now, pinning towards the upside here, some of the upside targets, but we'll follow it throughout the week and see what happens. Should be a good day on Friday.
Hey, and don't look now. We do have a rate decision on Thursday. Ooh. Or
Ooh,
sorry, excuse me. That is tomorrow, Wednesday.
tomorrow, huh?
Yes.
So a little something
Yes.
else, right, to spice up the week.
That's
They're going to
right.
raise rates, Brent.
Maybe a little bit more of the
A little
taper.
more
A
tapering
little
you're
bit,
looking
little
for.
more taper.
Yeah, the market doesn't seem too concerned about that. The headlines have all went over to Russia. You don't hear too much even about the taper, the taper here happening lately. So we'll see if that becomes the new risk tomorrow, as the Putin risk seems to obviously not be as much as it was a couple of weeks ago. Gold, Joel, getting absolutely murdered here this morning on the Putin speech. Obviously, with the market less nervous here and rallying, we're down 15 dollars in gold here this morning.
Kind of a scary area too, because you had that big run up going back to the 12th. You had that run up from 45.60, made it all the way to 1371.30. Didn't really give you the couple days of consolidation here. It really only gave you that one day with a big range, and then we took out the low from yesterday at 61.90. Sitting on the lows right now. I'd call 1350 a level just because it's a nice round number, 1350. But the true support comes in at 1345.60. That was a low on the 12th.
I was going to say 1352 just because we bumped up there 2, 3 times in early March, finally broke out there about a week ago from the 1350 area. We always say old resistance can become new support. So we're coming back there. We're only $7 away to retest that whole 1350 area. And I'd expect a few people, especially if they were caught short, and maybe some buy the dippers to come back in that whole 1350 area.
Hey, Dennis, before we go into our regular show, Colts Lock always throws it through few symbols in early, and then we get lost in the chat and everything. So can we just go over these four symbols real quick? Well, not four. LA gear, right? LA had a quake yesterday, but can we just go over these three? Because that TLT, I mean, that's a volatile instrument. I don't know if he's day trading this or a longer term perspective, but let's just do a quick technical analysis on these four before we move into our regularly scheduled programming.
Okay, jump into the TLT on the technicals, Joel. The one thing I do watch the TLT, it gives me an overall feel for what the bonds are doing, obviously. And sometimes you'll see this move counter to the market, sometimes not. We have obviously had a little bit of a rally there in the last week, but we pulled back here in the last few days. Obviously, as the market starts rallying up, sometimes this moves opposite. I always look at this if I'm trading any preferred stocks or anything like that too, because they all tend to move together. They're all positively correlated, the TLT and the preferred stocks and obviously the bonds.
From this, I mean, if you're doing anything between 105.60 or 105.70 in the upper end of the range at 109, I think you're just kind of throwing darts here. Pretty volatile over the last couple of weeks within those levels. I just think this thing would get extremely interesting if you took out the bottom of this range here, quite a ways away from it now, but you take out this 105.62 level and poof, you could easily see 104. On the upside, you just got to respect the 109 major resistance area.
Uh-oh, everybody's throwing tickers at us, so we'll try to do as many as we can here before we move on. Boeing, let's fly over to Boeing there because this one was interesting there. Was breaking down there 3-4 days ago, but has found some life. Yesterday had a great day, bouncing back a couple of dollars, closing fairly strong near the highs, looking like it's back over that critical $125 level here, Joel. So if you're looking at this from that whole 130 down to like 122, you're coming back to your 50% retracement of the just recent downfall.
So was that a Boeing plane that's missing? I mean, I did not get the particulars on that. It's probably either a Boeing or an Airbus. So it doesn't look to be any kind of mechanical failure on that. So that's not a factor. What I'm looking at here in Boeing kind of been range bound. 122, you had the double bottom there, 121.95, 121.63. That's obviously your major support. And it's kind of interesting on the upside, too, because you had a 25.61 high and a 25.82 high. So it'd be important to hold yesterday's high and rally back up into this 120. Then you come into another double top at 127.30. So pretty well-defined ranges here. Really wouldn't get real worried about it until we took out the 122 level.
The sell-off really was starting there when they were doing the inspection on the wings. That was noted back on the 7th when we started that they were recalling, I think it was 42 planes looking at for cracks, and then they were looking in the wings. I think that made everybody a little bit nervous, and they went into the 4 or 5 day sell-off. Well, now there hasn't been any headlines for a few days on that, and it's starting to bounce back here. So headlines were knocking it down, and now it's just kind of buy the dippers, bringing it back up.
Okay, and so we covered TLT, Boeing, CBS. When do we own that stock, Dennis? Like in
Joel, you had the
uh,
call. We said this, and I gave you credit for this a couple of months ago on the show. But back 2 years ago, you were telling me this CBS, everybody wants to own content. You were thinking maybe even Apple would come out and buy them. That
yeah,
never came to fruition, but it was still a great call. I bought the stock on your recommendation at $32. Of course, the scalper that I am, I sold it at $36 just a few weeks later. Obviously, should have held it because it's now $66. So CBS has been on a 2-year tear.
Once again, this chart looks kind of familiar. I mean, look at the old major support in the lower or mid 64, 64, 69, 79, 66. That's your major area support, trading a buck above that level. You take that out, you could be looking at 64 in a heartbeat. Looks like sellers are protecting this all-time high at 68.10. I'd like to see follow through yesterday's high, 66.44. Got another high at 66.59. So let's just call 66.50 the major resistance, 64.70 the major support.
Under Armour violin maker is asking about, we were talking about it a bit on the show yesterday, obviously announced the 2-for-1 split, got some early strength, ran up, opened up around 119.80, then immediately ran up another dollar and a half, but then the overall market started getting a little bit weaker, and Under Armour started giving it back its gains. Closed above where the low of the day was, around 119.41, kind of closed above there. That's the whole area. There's a gap below that whole 119.40 area. So I want to see the stock stay above that for the bulls to keep charge here. Like we were saying, other things being equal, obviously it's going to be the market that's probably moves around this more than anything. But other things being equal, these things do tend to be strong the week or two before the stock split, and they tend to be a little bit weak after. We're still, what was the date, Brent, on the Under Armour stock split again? I think it was like April 14th or something.
I think so too.
That sounds right, Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still a ways away here. So I don't know if you're going to get this, continued run here. Usually about a week before the split starts to show a lot more relative strength, and then the week after it shows some relative weakness.
Kind of interesting chart here. Not a lot of volume trading in the pre-market, just odd lots here. What I'm noting here is it kind of settled near the low, 1928 low, 1967 close. You're getting a little pop up here. I don't think you're going to get a shot at this 121.43 today in the regular session. If you do, respect it the first time. If not, it's breaking out. Coming back, you need to get down here to fill the gap at the 118 area. The bids are probably lining up there. So that's what I'd be using as a major support level. But once again, may just have that little, that little run into the actual split.
Let's move into a couple of key movers here today. And you got GameStop, GME, trading down about $2.50 right now. Walmart going to invade their space. They're going to start accepting video game trade-ins. On that news, GameStop getting crushed. It's traded 50,000 shares here this morning, which is big volume for this stock at this time of day, and is trading at 37.07 right now. So GameStop shareholders not happy with Walmart coming in.
Have you ever bought anything at a GameStop?
I'm not a video gamer though, so
like
I can't really say that I'm the best example here.
I feel like the trade-ins, I mean, that's kind of like their sort of niche in the market, but I just don't see how they make a ton of money from it. Somebody out there in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I have actually a Baird analyst commenting this morning saying that this is largely headline risk.
Wow, yeah, obviously whenever you hear Walmart coming in and doing some type of similar business to you, everybody hits the deck and starts selling right away, and that's what we're seeing here in the stock. So this Baird analyst, he's thinking this might be a little bit overdone.
I think so. I mean, it's we'll have to see how it actually translates into the actual sales and stuff. Just technically speaking, 36 even was the low in the pre-market. You've got to bounce off that. You also had a low right around 36 at 36.17 on the 25th. I'll use that as a support point. And just keep an eye where it's trading, where it goes out here, right before 9:30. It looks like 37 is acting as minor resistance right now.
if this really continued for whatever reason, 35 had multiple lows in February. I can see like one, two, three times we
Ooh.
tested that $35 area. That's where we kind of really broke out from in mid-February after trading around 35 for like a week. So definitely some support, a dollar and a half lower here. I don't know if we're going to see that today, but who knows? Funny things happen. Sometimes shareholders can get nervous, but just where I was trying to set up scenario analysis for you. So not saying it's going there by saying 35, just saying if it got down there, that might be the area where I'd be a little more interested in possibly picking a bottom.
Sympathy play? Do we have a sympathy play?
Well, GameStop itself is probably Brent. Who else is really in this arena here, like that does trade-ins? Because
I don't
yeah,
think
obviously
there
we have a lot of
is.
video game makers, we have a lot of things, but is there
Yeah.
any other big companies that do the trade-ins?
I don't really think so. No. I don't.
This is like directly impacting GameStop,
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe.
that's what I meant. That this is like their niche market. Nobody else has this segment, but I don't know.
And what about like Activision, Blizzard, and those companies? They're
But
the
those
one
guys make
make
the
the
games,
games. They
so
make
Yeah,
the
so it's
games.
not exactly it's in the group, but it's not exactly like a peer play.
Yeah, look at
yeah.
this. Look at this Best Buy chart here. Look at this thing. Just sleeping, falling asleep here. No one wants to buy it or sell it here, Dennis. You've been dipping your toe in the water in Best Buy at all, or you've been off the
At
screen?
$25 level, I tell you, they are defending that level something fierce. Obviously, we broke down from the big gap down back in mid-January, and we ran back up after we sold off a bit for a week and a half. Then in February, we consolidated around 25 for 2 weeks there. Eventually did break out, came back in March, retested it, kind of hung out just a couple days ago in the lower 25s. This thing's forming a nice base. I'll give you that. So
Dead
it is
money
forming a
though. It
nice
looks like
base here.
dead money to me. Just looks like dead money.
Well, it's been dead money here for the last month and a half, but you don't think it's forming a nice base
I
here?
do, I do, I do, and then you just got to keep an eye on the wires on your Benzinga Pro news feed here because it's going to be some what do they do comp sales or some ridiculous figure they're
No,
going to
there's
come.
yeah, there's
Yeah,
usually the
yeah,
monthly comps
yeah.
come
That's
out.
what's
And
going to
obviously,
be.
I don't know when they're due to report. We've come out of earnings season now, so I think they probably reported they're only about a few weeks ago. There, I can see a spike on the chart. I'm probably assuming that was the earnings.
I agree
So
with you. I agree with you about the building a nice base though.
yeah.
I actually see they did their Q4. I don't see a confirmed date for the earnings yet, but I do see that they did their Q4 on March 28th of last year. So expect it in the
Oh, it
next
is
couple weeks.
coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, actually, if you look, I guess the last gap down, the big gap down was on earnings. There's my goldfish memory again. So the big gap down was the last earnings report. So that was the last disaster. So could be interesting. Maybe you get a few people, shorts, that want to cover, obviously, that are sitting on some gains probably ahead of the earnings. So I wouldn't be surprised if you do see a little bit of a run up here ahead of the earnings report. But I don't know. After that last earnings report, I don't know if I'd hold it long into the earnings report or not. I'd probably sit back and just watch the action and see what happens because that was a real disaster after that last earnings report. Let's just talk about Hewlett Packard with that because sometimes those two can trade together. They haven't been lately, but Hewlett Packard is getting upgraded here this morning at Barclays, and the stock is trading back up at $30. This has just been the number for this stock. It got back up over there, and it was kind of been hanging out at 30 for a long, long time. Here we are trading back up at $30 here again. There is an institutional order for 50,000 shares in the New York buck at $30, so that might hold the price down a little bit off the hop. I tend to think it might take that out and move higher through 30 though in the regular session.
Is Barclays carry a big stick with this?
Yeah, pretty good. Not like a Goldman or a Citi, but Barclays is pretty big stick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot. I see a double top at 29.84, 29.85. We are through that level here, 29.69 high yesterday. So I'd be more concerned about the 30 and a quarter and the 30.25, 30.26 highs from the 10th and 11th. Supports, I mean, I doubt we're going to go into reverse and get back under 29, but support well defined, just under 29 at the 28.75, 28.83 level.
Let's also look at Cisco because Barclays is downgrading
Ooh.
Cisco here today, and it's trading down just slightly here right now at 21.38, so down a 0.5%. So not getting killed too bad. The last 2 days lows, a little double bottom there, 21.7, 21.27, 21.28. If it comes back down there again, though, you know what they say, there's no such thing as a triple bottom. Well, we see that every once in a while, so I don't know if that really holds. But 21.27 is the level that this thing needs to hold for the bulls to keep charge.
Yep, good call there. Traded below that in the pre-market, but we have popped back up to 21.38. Someone's sticking their nose out here at 21.39. That's a little bit of resistance, but so keep an eye on that. Little volume trading at that level, only down 13 cents. For some reason, Dennis, I think even if we do get through that double bottom there, 27.28, I just think it's going to be bid all the way down to this 21 level. 2096 was a low back in December. I don't think they'll start whooping up on this thing. I don't see it. I don't even see it trading in the 20 handle today.
It's such a thick stock. Like Cisco is massively traded. It's already traded 164,000 shares here early in the pre-market. It's just thick. This thing moves 20, 30 cents. That's its average daily range usually. With a downgrade, maybe you might see the 2120 area or something. But I agree with you, Joe. I don't think they're going to whack this thing all the way down to like 21 or below 21 here today.
Do the high freaks mess around in that thing? Scalping
spreaders?
Yeah.
Anything thick like that, the high-frequency traders love trading that stuff because it's lower risk. So they, obviously high-frequency traders have very low profit margins. They're trying to make fractions of a penny. So if they're risking dollars, and making fractions of a penny, they're not going to be in business. Their whole game is no risk. They want to go into low risk or no risk situations. When the queue is just jam-packed with orders, they can lean on the queue. They can be at the top of the queue. They got, different ways to get to the top of the order queue. The internalizer ones can, do it through order flow. Obviously, there's different, order types, and there's different, exchanges that can be on, inverted exchanges. There's so many different ways for them to get to the top of the order queue, and that's what they do. They lean on the order queue. And the whole thing, and everybody will talk about high frequency trading, and we're going to have Chris Nagy and we're going to have Dave Lauer on Friday, and we'll really dive into the deeps a little bit more deeper into high frequency trading. But the most part is what I consider in my trading is that high frequency traders have really kind of monopolized the spread. They kind of make you pay the spread. That's the whole high frequency toll, I call it. So if you pay the spread, for the most part, you kind of take them out of the game. So if it's a 1 cent spread, consider that your high frequency trading cost there. So it's not about being afraid of the markets here. It's more just understanding that they're quicker than us. They're co-located. They have the advantages. They basically have monopolized the spread.
They don't think.
No thinking whatsoever. It's just programmed. They're market makers for the most part, majority. And there's other programs too. There's I shouldn't just group it all that every high frequency trader is just market makers. Lots of different things. And high frequency trading is just the speed and obviously the amount of trades they're doing. It's not a strategy in itself. They do a lot of different strategies here. But for the most part, the majority or a lot of high frequency traders focus on market making, and they're looking to make that spread, and they're very good at it. So when you're sitting there on the bid at 21.37, for the most part, the only time you're going to get filled is when the quote is rolling through you and it goes 21.36 to 21.37. So even though you think you didn't pay the spread by sitting your limit order out there, you really did because you probably didn't get filled until the bid became the ask.
Yeah, it just one final note here on Cisco here. Obviously, they identified a huge seller at the $22 level. 22.05 was the high, and then they just kind of backed it out. 21.98, 94, 82, 93, 92, 92. So, someone, a big order at the point there, selling a couple million shares, selling ahead of it, just pushing lower. So if somehow Cisco does go into rally mode, major resistance at the 21.92, 93 level.
Tesla price target raised at Goldman to 200. Wow, the stock's at 237, so I guess that's, they are rallying the stock here at $3.40, and I don't know if that's more probably to do with the market than anything. But Goldman, raises the price target, but only up to 200.
Why do they do that? Why do they do that? I mean, why don't they just, why raise the price? I mean, so they're telling you to get out? Is what they're telling you.
I don't know what it means when the stock's at 234. Well, it must mean they think it's still going to 200, so they obviously think there's 37 points more of downside here. I don't know. Brent, do you know where the price target was before?
Yes.
Brent's still there.
It was. I'm typing quickly. I'm fast.
Yeah,
we
make him go on mute because you don't like to hear his typing.
I see a price target of 170. Raise it about $30.
So they raised from 170 up to 200. So they're chasing price here a little bit there, but obviously still not super bullish the stock, or they would put a higher price target on it.
The old patented sitting on a cliff formation here, right, Dennis? That 228.30.
Looks a little scary. Below but the whole mentality, the buy the dippers keep coming into this market. And it seems like nothing breaks down. But if this stock was to get below 228, that's where I'd get nervous. Obviously, with the Goldman price target raise here today, with the S&P futures being up 7, I think the 228 level is probably safe today. If I'm a long-term swing trader, if I'm playing this and trying to, pick a bottom here below 228, I'm starting to get nervous.
Yeah, you cut out right away. Cut out,
Yeah, and
maybe.
that's what
Yeah.
trading's all about. You're right. It's all about cutting out. It's knowing your risk. Sometimes I like to give it like a little bit through the level because there'll be other people. That's a very obvious level, so there'll be other people playing it that way too. Maybe on this stock, you want to give it a couple bucks through the level. Often, I like to give it like if I'm a swing trade, if I'm in it for a swing trade, if I'm in it for a day trade, completely different story. But if I'm in it for a swing trade, I often like to give it maybe a 1% through the level or something. So you get that initial shakeout, and if it bounces right back, then you're not selling the low. So I want to be sure it's through the level because a stock can go $25 and then make another 24.90 low. When you look back at the chart 3 months later, it'll look like a double bottom, but it was 10 cents through. And if you got shaken out for 10 cents, well, that kind of sucks.
Does this go with the market well? Does this go with the spoos very well?
Well, it goes with the momentum stocks. I mean, these things all tend to move together. Obviously, we saw Facebook pulling back here recently, and we've been seeing a shift. And we were talking about that with the big Berkshire Hathaway breakout there a week and a half ago. You started seeing value stocks come back into play, and Momo kind of being a little bit weaker there. You saw the financials, well, they've shown some recent weakness here too. But really, the momentum stocks have kind of been taking a breather here, and you've been seeing other stocks like Procter and Gamble that just broke out to a one
Oh, I
month
want to
high
talk
here.
about that. I want to
Okay,
talk about.
but Johnson Johnson. So we'll go into all those. But you've seen some of the value plays, some of the defensive stocks starting to take the lead here a little bit. And those stocks have kind of been just been dead money, but not in the last month. They've been starting to break out. And Berkshire Hathaway, we say, is always a good indicator of that. Not that they own all of these stocks, but they're more value oriented. So when you start seeing BRK.B breakout, which it really did from like 115 there a week and a half ago, ran all the way to 125. You were seeing stocks like ExxonMobil, and you were seeing stocks like the Walmarts and stuff. Well, not Walmart, but ExxonMobil and other ones that obviously they own there take off. You've seen value come back into favor.
What about PG here? Do you have a big seller at 80? Look at
You
that.
do.
You
Yeah, I'm
know,
actually short off the 80 level too here, just for full disclosure. I shorted it this morning here, right around 70, right around the $80 level there. So if it cuts through 80, which I believe it probably will today, this is a scalp, then I'll cut out for sure. But 80 is being defended, 150,000 shares there in the book at 80. So that's the big number here today. If the S&P futures continue to rally, I expect 80 to probably fall today.
getting a little bit of a running start with the 79.84 close.
Yeah.
If you don't want to mess with it, going through the first time, a lot of times, if you do blow through that $80 level and you don't get an immediate follow through like 80.10, 80.12 or whatever, it might be a better short coming back down through that $80 level. Once again, getting a running start with a close at 78.94 or 84 actually, because we're trading up in the pre-market.
We had a couple earnings stocks here, which I want to talk about. HT Zebra first. Hertz Global reported earnings here this morning, 26 cents versus 32 cents, if that's right, I think, and 2.56 billion versus 2.62 billion. So it actually is a miss on the top and a miss on the bottom line, which wouldn't look good. But the guidance was a little bit light here as well. But they're also announcing that they are spinning off their equipment rental corp. So they're spinning off their business. Obviously, the shareholders are obviously going to get that benefit there. And that is what is popping the stock up here today. 27.90 is where it's trading right now. And interesting enough, yesterday's high 28.08. It's trading right below that, Joel.
Yeah, and you have a high in the pre-market here at 28.18. So all the numbers lining up here just at the $28 as resistance. If in fact you can hold 28 here, have a one minor stopping point in the middle 28s at 28.58, but then you slide right up to the next level to 29 as the super major resistance for the day.
Well, remember GE 3 or 4 days ago there when it popped up to $26 as they were announcing that they were going to spin off their finance unit. And that immediately after the open gave it all back. I wonder if we're going to see a similar situation here in Hertz. I don't know if I'm going to play it off that 28 or not, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. And if it looks like it opens up in this whole 27.95, 28 area and it can't get through and make the new high and break through that 28.18, watch for the reversal and watch and make sure this thing doesn't start giving back some of these gains because the earnings were not great. The guidance was not great. They did announce a 1 billion share buyback, so that helps a little bit too. But with this overall spinoff here, I think that's really what's driving it up here in the pre-market on 700,000 shares, and we'll have to see when the real money comes in there at 9 o'clock or 9:30 if it holds on to these gains. Double F Future Fuel. This looks like it's your big mover of the day. This stock actually blew the numbers away there last night after the bell. I was watching the trade in action. They made 61 cents, revenue 125.6 million, and they are just flying here. They're up like 15% here today, 21.29 after closing at 17.56. This is a huge pop for FF.
Is this like plug power related or whatever? Future
I
fuel.
don't think so. I think the name makes you think that, but I think this is Brent. This isn't like any. It's more like just a pure like oil play, is it not?
They're
Uh,
trying to fix something over there on the desk.
oh,
Future
Brent's
fuel,
not around.
yeah, future fuel.
I'll go look it up.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't.
it
I
kind of
don't think. I don't think it's like a Ballard Power. I think they're fooling you with that name, Future. It's the Future Fuel.
Well,
I
it
think.
yeah, it hasn't. I mean, it didn't react like the other stocks did before. We made a high in the pre-market at 21.91. Since then, finding support at the $21 level. You can own it if it cuts below 21. I don't like the way it looks below 21. Just had a nice breakout of the 1766 level in the pre-market. Should be interesting here if they try and take some profits in this issue. But as it stands right now, 21 minor support, 21.40 pre-market high. Actually,
Well,
21.91. 21.91. I'm sorry.
they're engaged in the manufacture and sale of diversified chemicals and bio-based products in the U.S. Company operates in two segments: chemicals and biofuels. So actually, this is more of a chemical business, I think, than anything. But so obviously, with the Dow Chemical and Eastman Chemical, kind of maybe the smaller player in that space. But can't argue with the move here today. Holy cow! And if you looked at this chart, man, this was setting up really nice before today. So much consolidation between
I know.
17 and a half, closing up near the highs, and then a breakout, and it's just absolutely gone here. What was
Yeah.
that high? Oh yeah, we've blown through all the highs. So I'm just going back on the charts.
Yeah, 21.91. I mean, I believe this is a all-time high for future fuel. The former all-time high was at 1884. So there's some levers. Let's just take a quick look at the plugster, huh? It's kind of been kind of quiet the last few days, huh?
Yeah, had all the action before the earnings report there, and then it digested the earnings and had the big pop, or I had obviously the drop, and then it had the pop just on the earnings report, the smaller pop, I guess, when you consider how big that sell-off was 5 days ago. It's kind of drifting back down here, though. People obviously are a little bit not as interested as they once were, although it's still traded 400,000 shares in the pre-market here, so it's still trading pretty good volume, but drifting down here.
You never got another shot at that 50% retracement level. Remember we were talking about that on Thursday, the 50% of the move from 1172 all the way down to low of 532. And
Yeah.
then we were talking about the 50% retracement coming back to the 8. It was 850, I believe. It got to 848. Never even gave you another shot at that level. And now you're trading in the lower sixes. So another thing that I'd like to look at, just sticking with this 50% retracement theme, is you made a move from a 532 to 848 that encompassed the rally. So you had a 320 move, right? $3.20. Take a
Hmm.
buck 60 of that. That takes you boom, boom, boom at buck 60. Takes you at near the $7 level, so it's already given back half of that move. Seven's going to be good resistance here if you get any kind of a pop, but trying to sneak back down to that 532 low, it looks like.
Yeah, and if you look at the brother-in-laws, their FCEL fuel cell, it's actually only a few cents off of the low that it made after. It got down to 268. got down yesterday to 276. So fuel cell a little bit relatively weak. And Ballard Power, BLDP, had a real rough day yesterday, giving back 80 cents there, closing at 519 after being up at $6.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey guys, real quick before we go to Nick, if you just heard those couple of blips, I was posting some hot news items to the pro feed. We did just get a whole bunch of data, but that were not the blips. The blips were Viacom Google announcing a resolution in a copyright suit, and then Apple unveiling its new iPad.
Whew. Did we get to
Oh,
CPI
really?
too?
Yep.
Did we get to CPI?
We did get the CPI. It was all the data points on CPI were right in line.
Yeah.
So
Nothing.
kind of a non-event. Also had housing starts again, not really an event here. Market's quiet on it, but Apple shares are edging higher on that release.
Okay.
Yeah, from the Pro unveils new iPad starting at $399, including 9.7-inch screen with Retina display, improved cameras, and enhanced performance. Let's go get a quick Nick there and talk about this Apple.
Okay. Welcome back, traders and investors. It's our Tuesday segment with Nic Chahine, creating income with credit spreads. And Nick, if you've been listening during the show over the last week, I have been giving you some credit on your calls in Apple. We had that pop up to the 540 level. You identified that as resistance going into the week. Was that just because of the open interest at the 540 level, or do you have a super charting software that we don't know about?
No, no. Somebody accused me of magic wizardry on Twitter. No, it was just based on the open interest. You're right, and I've made some trades based on that, and they've been pretty dead on. It's just where it's telling me where the market wants to be, or not be actually, and that's where I'm selling my spreads. I'm looking where it's not going to go and place some spreads there and see how they work out. And for Apple in particular, since you're talking about it, I've been seeing more as to where it's not going to go on the upside and not so clear on the downside. So I don't see clear resistance lines except for the 505 level that the company itself defended vigorously a few weeks back, along with Icon and all the biggies.
It's interesting that you look and approach it that way. Everybody always thinks about, oh, where is the stock going? And they place the trades. And your exact opposite. You're always like, where isn't it going? And where can I safely write some calls here and get some income from it? So it's such an interesting strategy. So are you looking at like 540 level is just hard as a rock and it's probably not going above there, so I can safely write those 540s? Is that kind of how you're looking at it, Nick?
Right. So if I'm looking at this week, the resistance that I see, it's almost dead even at 530 as far as push pull with bears and bulls, and then anything above that, actually 532.5 is not very significant, but 535 on up, it's going to be harder for the bulls to take it up there without a headline. So now a new iPad, I don't call that a headline. I think they're going to pop it and then say, what, cheaper iPad, bad margins, blah, blah, blah. So it'll have some pull on it. But a new product would just negate any open interest data that I would have, and it would just go right through. But we don't see it. We've been promised that so-called flying car. Remember, we've talked about that?
Yeah.
And it would need something like that to bust through. And looking at this week's 540 is still pretty strong. 535 it starts to be strong, but 540 is definitely strong. And 550 is, in my opinion, it would take a miracle to go through. So somebody that owns the stock can generate some dividends by selling call against their shares. No selling naked, just against your shares. And you can just, if they expire
Covered
worthless,
calls.
Right. Then you keep the premium, and then you repeat the next week.
Nick, what about Twitter here? Do you look at that one here? Like, I think that one's just been drifting down here, and actually, we haven't talked about it for the last couple of days here, but it's kind of started breaking down here. What do you think on this Twitter chart? And is this something you'd look at, or is this just a little bit too risky for you to be going and writing calls or puts on?
Well, Twitter, yeah, I have not written. You're right about that. I did not write any calls on it because I don't have enough history, and it's such a headline stock that it's not really good for
Yeah,
credit spreads. You'd be just gambling, and I'm
yeah.
not that type of guy. I'm really conservative, and but looking at Twitter reminds me of something. I'm going to switch back to Apple for a second because it ties into a few names that you guys covered this morning.
Okay.
If you look at Apple last, I would say since December, it's got lower highs and knocking on the same level of 520-ish area. So that concerns me a little bit. And I think there were a couple of names that you mentioned earlier today. You guys were talking about Boeing. Boeing also is hitting, knocking on support levels, but from lower highs. So that would concern me. It's kind of like a jumping on a board, same place, and but it's going to either break down or break out, and most often it's breaking down. So that would be scary. Tesla is the same, kind of a flagging, right? If you can throw it up there, same thing, lower highs.
Yeah.
Amazon is doing the exact opposite. It's knocking from higher lows. So if I were to buy lotto tickets, I would buy puts in Tesla and calls in Amazon and see what happens.
So you're always kind of looking like with the flow, you can kind of see that Amazon's had a little bit of relative strength here lately, where obviously Tesla has shown a little bit of relative weakness. So you want to play that momentum play a little bit there with the Amazon, looking at that one from the long side, or rating calls, or
Yeah.
is that am I okay?
Amazon, I wouldn't write. I never write
You're
calls
buying
against
calls.
Amazon. It's
Yeah,
too violent. But Amazon is had two green candles in two really red or scary days, Thursday, Friday last week. So that was impressive, and that tells you something about the stock. So if the stock market in general stabilizes and starts to go green, can you imagine what it can do? If what it did two green candles on red days, what can it do on green days? So.
right.
Yeah, Lisa's been talking about that Amazon Prime, and she likes it. She likes it. I think we're going to pay up for that. She likes the free delivery and the free returns and everything, so she's sticking with that. Are you been messing with Google at all here? It had
Yep.
the big breakdown to 1180. It was a pretty good support level. Got a
Yep.
lot of it back yesterday. Were you able to reload down there?
I did. Google's been paying my bills for the last, gosh, couple of months. I've been on your show and saying I've been selling iron condors in Google, and I've had a good grasp on it. That's going to go away in a few weeks here when they split it, so I can readjust to the new levels and try to get a beat on it down there. But yes, I did have credit put spreads in it, and under heat, I added to my personal positions there, and the members. Some we moved out to safety into April because I knew it was just temporary unless the markets altogether broke down. The premiums were insanely high, so I collected some decent premium. I sold the 1155, 1150 credit put spread. So what I said I'm willing to buy Google at 1155, so I sell the put there, and then to cover my butt, I would buy the one $5 lower and say, but just in case it goes to zero, I want to cover my complete loss to being just $5.
So your max gain on that is $5. How much premium were
No,
you?
no,
Or
my
max loss?
max, my,
Max loss is $5.
Max loss.
How much
Yeah.
premium? How much premium were you taking in? I'm just trying to get the risk.
it depends where you sold it. So if you
Yeah.
sold it with two deltas out when all things were normal, you collected probably about 30 cents. But it was an iron condor position, so I had to complete about 60 cents. So I'm risking a little over $5 to get 60. Sounds too, reward to risk is not good enough. But if you think about it, it's
The
just
odds of that are so low of happening, so it's all
right,
probabilities there.
right.
So
And you can rinse and repeat the next week, and before you know it, you've got 10% return in a month on just such a stupidly safe, relatively safe trade. So that's how I've been playing Google, and I think I have another week or two of that, and then I'll let it rest for a couple of weeks to see how it's going to behave at half price with two tickers, and then I'll rinse and repeat there if I can.
Hey Nick, just a quick question here. If you're doing like the iron condors or selling the credit spreads, does it take a lot of margin? Are you allowed to do that in IRA accounts, or how's the margin? You need quite a bit of money to do these, or I
You,
can do them in an
I,
IRA.
You can do it in an IRA. Depends on your broker. Most let you do it as long as it's not open-ended risk in the IRA. In the IRA, they never let you sell. At least I don't want to ever sell naked puts or calls unless they're covered, so they won't be naked. But you can do it if they can define the dollar risk. So if you've got a $30,000 IRA account and you're putting a $5,000 max risk trade, they'll let you do it. But they won't let you sell a couple of puts, regardless of how low they
Right.
are,
Okay.
because then it eats up a lot of margin. But the margin itself, you can find a $250 spread trades on Google and Apple now. You can find a dollar spread on the SPY, IWM, the Qs. Um, so you can adjust your trading to fit your budget. I've done it in $10,000 accounts, and obviously the bigger the better, because if you've got a gigantic account, you put 15 centers out there and you can generate 100,000 a month if you've got a big enough bucket. So
Okay. No,
it,
I just wanted to give that for our listeners. What are you setting up for the triple witch? Is that something that you have a better week or better opportunity, or is it just a little bit too much volatility and you kind of step to the sidelines?
opportunity on witching. I usually take advantage of the open madness and throw some iron condors out there that are 50 centers on each side. Meaning, I collect 50 cents to open something with like a 2% wide wing. So in the SPX, for example, in Priceline, and those violent names that usually will tend to want to move, and just see the premiums disappear, and I just close them for smaller pennies later. So it'll be just a quick scalp using iron condors.
Okay, could
Speak.
you could you just go in? I'm seeing this price line here. It made a double bottom at 1267 here. Obviously popped up from that, popping in the pre-market. Could you just, for clarification, could you give us, like, if you did an iron condor on this, just give us the what? There's three legs to an iron condor, correct?
There are two legs,
Okay.
two spreads, four legs.
Okay.
So what you do is, I just mentioned the credit put spread in Google. So let's say for a Priceline, actually, I can speak to it. I collected over $2 in premium in Priceline in the last 2 weeks, times gobs of contracts. So it also paid the bills because it was unduly. I mean, it went down from close to 1400 down to under to whatever 1260 something, and so I sold a lot of credit put spreads, and that means I said, it's been punished enough. It's been punished like it was a momentum stock that is full of froth, and this is a momentum stock. It moves $40 a day for no reason, but it does print money. So it has meat. So it's not like it's froth. And it comes to a point to where it doesn't make sense to sell it anymore. So I said, I'm willing to risk it. So I sold risk with another 90% chance of success lower. So I collected 50, 60 cents for taking risk, say around the 1210. So I said, I'll sell the 1210 put and buy the 1205 put. So those are two legs that give me the lower end of the
Okay.
iron condor.
Okay.
And then I'll wait, and when it pops, I'll sell a credit call spread, which is the opposite, saying, okay, it ran enough. So if I look at the open interest with Priceline, it's not so much it was resistance. I saw a magnet level of 1300 yesterday. So before the open, I said, look, it's interesting to me. And then boom, sure enough, it went to 1300 and hovered around there. So I would pick a level that I'm comfortable where it's not going to go and sell a credit call spread. I haven't done that yet because I'm not comfortable. It's looking bullish from here, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I would sell a call and then buy a call higher. So those are the other two legs that will give me
Right.
a credit call spread. And now I have an iron condor that gave me income on both sides. And
Okay.
the
Now,
good
Good
and the good
why do
thing
you
strategy.
think?
about that, the good thing about that, it's a self-hedged position to a degree. So if the price moves against me one way or another, one leg loses, one leg gains. So the margin doesn't require a double margin. It's the same margin because you can only lose on one side or the other.
Why do you think it looks bullish here? The double bottom, is that what you're looking at here? And the nice got up
Well,
through 1300, pulled back a bit, but
that is one. Technically, if you look at last year's RUT, which is a small cap ticker, the way I made money on the RUT last year is following a technical pattern. I'm not a technical analyst, but I've learned a few things. And if you consider half of the right side of an umbrella, I think it's called an ascending inverted scallop or something like that. But
I'll have one of those with a side salad.
if you look at the pattern, it goes up and then it droops down, kind of like half the right side of an umbrella. And if it goes down to about halfway and then starts going up and it clears the top and closes above the top, then it's most likely going to repeat itself in some sort of a fashion. So it's going to do another arc.
so you think this thing's going to make a run for the highs here over the course of the next few months here, or is that
Which-
where you're
Yeah,
like a price line? Is that like your target would be maybe at the highs there again?
I think if and that's where
Yeah.
the big thing that drives me. I don't do any of these trades, none of these trades.
Yeah, what you think. You're always trying to look at what you don't think's going to happen, and that's where
Well,
you're safe to write. But
Well, before I do anything, I have to evaluate the environment, right? So I'm a
Right.
fundamental guy. So I'm looking at if last Friday was the a peak at the bottom. By that I say, okay, the world freaked out. We had World War coming, and it didn't happen. So now we took a peek at worst case scenario. So now, if we're comfortable, we should meander and just edge up from here. I'm not saying we're going to scream to new highs, but I'm saying the doom scenario is not there with these sets of circumstances. We need a new negative headline to take us lower. And if that headline doesn't come, and Putin was speaking this morning, and we're still okay with that, and he's
Yeah.
basically said we're taking over Crimea, in not so many words, and we're still okay with that. So there's nothing to stop these prices from reverting to their recent levels that makes sense.
Okay. All right, Nick. Well, thanks for explaining that iron condor to us, giving us an outlook on the market, getting a better feel for your strategies every week that you come on. We appreciate you talking some sophisticated option strategies with us. And the other thing I like about your strategy is when you put those iron condors on and the market sits still, it brings you money. It brings in the cash, right?
Exactly. Time works for me.
Exactly. Okay, Nick, thanks a lot, and we'll have you on again next week.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
thanks, Nick.
Later.
He's kind of like the just the insurance company there, where he's always writing the insurance there, but very low probability of stuff happening there, because obviously, if the thing went down and you lose $5 on a 60-cent gain, it's not a good risk return, but the probabilities of that stuff are happening so low that it's making him profitable there overall in the long run there. So even if he gets like an outside black swan event that hits him, he does protect himself against that event happening. And in the meantime, he's just collecting premium, and probably the premiums that he continues to collect over time is going to more than make up if there ever is a black swan event.
Yeah, I mean it's his posture though in the market. I mean, and I think whether you have what you're doing trading, if you're trading options or you're trading stocks, I mean, his basic premise on the market, I mean, he's bullish. He's been right the market, and he's been using, now it'll be interesting to see when he turns things and makes it, if the market actually does turn, then, then you get whacked on a couple of those credit spreads, and you're getting stuck with the stock. It's a different story, but he's sticking with his premise and it's working. So credit to him. Those are some good strategies, and I'm gonna do some reading up on the iron condors here when I'm watching the play-in games for the NCAA tournament, because those seems like some plausible strategies.
Do have a few sell imbalances here this morning. We're obviously up 7 points, so I always find it interesting when I see the sell imbalances, and they're actually across the board. I would expect a lot of those to get offset and a lot of those to flip to become buy imbalances here. But just off the early hop, you got Bank of America with a 246,000 share sell imbalance. I don't think there's a chance that opens down. Like right now, that would indicate that that's going to probably open down about a dime. Probably not going to happen. It's trading 17.17 here in the pre-market, which is up 6 cents. So I'd expect some buyers to come in here in the next 35 minutes on those. Just looking at a few other ones. Actually, across the board, it's sell imbalances. So if you're looking at the imbalances there this morning, obviously I'm not putting a lot of weight into them because I'm just seeing too many of them. And I think there's going to be, with the futures up 6 or 7, I think a lot of those are going to flip.
Okay.
Um,
Anything else you want to look at?
Well, you want to talk about General Motors there yesterday,
Yeah.
Joel. Obviously, they've had some bad news, and yesterday the news wasn't great, but this stock found a bed and started to get some life there yesterday and really started popping there in the afternoon.
Right. The news came out. Let's get to Generous Motors. They're really not government motors anymore.
No, you can't really say that anymore.
No, dipped under 34 when that news came out. That was short lived. It came back, and I noticed that it came back with a vengeance. Kyle Bass has been talking about this stock for a long time. He also was talking about it at 40, but here it is back down. That low that it's made three lows under 34 here. 33, 57, 87, and 71 here. So I think it's going to be a lot tougher to, pick it up at that level. I guess if I was looking for a swing trade, trying to be patient, we're not trading up another 22 cents here. You had to double close at 34.09. I don't see any resistance coming in here until you get to the 35.16 to 35 and a quarter level. Those are the two highs from March 12th and March 13th.
You know what level's really been defended? If you bring up that Ford chart, this $15 level, they've been defending that for the better part of a month here, and it got down there 2 days ago to 1506. Has bounced off there again. It's trading up another 7 cents here this morning, so we're up at 1535 here now. But that $15 level has been holding nicely for Ford. So GM was making new lows, but Ford was not.
Yeah, it just hung in there. I mean, it's really issue-specific news to Generous Motors coming up. I do see a couple tops at the 1550 level. Kind of thought I was going to get there yesterday. I was watching the big move in GM, and I thought, man, this thing might blow through this 1530, but just too much stock for there to move. You have a series of, let's say, five highs between 1542 and 1564. So that's tough. I mean, you can't pick, oh, that's resistance, that's resistance. Just call the whole 1550 level the next target on the upside.
Let's look at a couple of the other momos there and break them down. Netflix, which we haven't talked about for a couple days, actually closed fairly weak here. It closed right near the lows of the day. 422.31 was the low, closed at 422.72, and that was slightly below the previous day's low of 423. And you were talking about stocks hanging on a cliff. This thing starts taking out yesterday's low of 422.31. What do you think of this one?
I think Nic Chahine would be selling a credit spread here.
Probably the calls, looking at selling the call spread.
Yeah, I'm saying, I want to own it here. I was looking at that.
That would be the put spread, I guess, if you think.
Yeah.
You think you'd be bullish this chart?
Yeah. It had a high, pulled back to support, multiple lows.
Maybe.
I look at it as bearish because I'm looking for this thing to crack this 422.31 level and immediately go down to the mid 400s to 410.56. But it just doesn't happen in this market. I just want to go back real quickly to the Tesla. I guess it's a positive, up, target up by Goldman Sachs, but it is opening into resistance here. If you're looking at Tesla, you look at the two previous days' highs right in this area, 237.93, yesterday's high, Friday's high, 236.94. Boom, you're opening right up into that level. So let's see if the sellers defend that level again and bring it back down to the close, or if it can finally break into the 240 handle.
We started briefly talking about Twitter, but we really didn't get into it, and I want to get into it here because this one is real interesting. This thing looks like it wants to retest that $50 area where obviously the gap down from the, I believe that was the earnings report, and it's been drifting down for 3-4 days here. It's only $2 away from that critical $50 support here now. What do you think of this one?
Which, are you talking about Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who called it? Who did we have on Friday? Brian Shannon was looking for that to break out to, the downside, and it did. It did break down there. I don't know. We talk about Twitter a lot, and it doesn't seem like it's lost its luster, I mean, if you are trying it for a swing trade here, you have your stop out point, at the $50 level, got down to 51.35. So from a risk reward, basis, I like it here, but boy, it just doesn't seem that. I mean, it certainly lost a lot of momentum, and when a momentum stock loses momentum, it's hard to fight it.
You know what I think is going to happen in this, and this is just my
I
own
know
little
exactly what
theory
you're
here.
going to say. It's going to come
I think it's
down.
going to take out the 50, go down like $49, shake everybody out, sucker everybody in short, and then pop on them. So I'm looking. I think it's going to do through the 50. I think it's come too far to not
Okay.
shake out those people who are sitting with their stops right below 50 because everybody's eyeing that level. So that's the critical level. I think it goes down there, shakes everybody out of their longs. Maybe goes down like $49 or something, and then starts cutting back through 50. And that's when I get interested if it came back up through 50.
Okay,
So
we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to bring on Rachel Fox, a 17-year-old actor, musician, and day trader. So, interesting interview coming up, folks. Grab your cup of Joe, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Rachel Fox on with us today, 17-year-old actor, musician, and day trader, author of Fox on Stocks. Getting up bright and early this morning for us. Rachel, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm wide awake this morning.
Okay, so how'd you get interested in the stock market?
That's a good question. I just really, I guess, in a very organic kind of fashion. My mom explained it to me starting from a really young age, so I had always kind of understood it and been around it and been that. When I was about 15 and a half, I kind of understood the concept of day trading, and I just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And I opened a virtual account because my parents wouldn't let me open a real account and trade with real money. So I opened a virtual account and proved to them I could actually make money, and then they let me, put some of my money on it, and then it just kind of blew up from there. But I just tried, and I knew that it was something I could do, and my parents saw that, so it all worked out.
how do you find time, like to obviously actress, musician, and trade as well? Are you trading actively here too, or are you just kind of doing it a bit? Like, how do you find time for all this, Rachel?
Well, luckily, I'm usually not playing music or working on set or not always working on set at 6:30 in the morning. So I definitely always have a nice block of quiet time where I can trade, and I can make sure that I dedicate time for that. And then, everything just kind of, you just make it work. You just make it fit in. There's actually a lot of time in the day, believe it or I find that there's a lot more time than I used to think, and that you can really just fit in everything that you want to fit in if you really want to do it badly enough and just figure it out.
So you'll take a look at the market, you'll put some positions on, and then you'll go to your. I mean, do you have to? Are you going to school too? Are you homeschooled, or do you already take care of that stuff?
I actually already took care of that. I was homeschooled for a little while, and then I just finished early.
Okay, all right. So what do you like to trade? You trade primarily stocks?
Yes, I trade. That's actually all I trade at the moment, just stocks. And I actually do. I dabble in a little bit of options, but mostly like iron condor spreads and those kinds of things.
Okay, so you must have heard Nick on talking about some of his strategies. So how did you learn about that? I mean, you said you learned a little bit. Your mom was interested in it. Did you read any books? Did you take any classes? Did you have a mentor? How did you learn about the markets?
The only book that I really I guess it's not true, but the kind of the first book that I read on the market was called Understanding Wall Street, and that was something that my mom actually was trying to get me to read when I was really, really young. And that was kind of my first book into the stock market. And then since then, it's been a lot of online reading and online research and reading blogs and just gathering information, kind of cherry picking my information here and there. And it's just all come together to form this bout of knowledge that's allowed me to trade.
Now, which stocks? Is there specific stocks you like to pick on there, Rachel, or are you just looking at the whole universe? Which stocks do you like to trade?
It's honestly, it's weird, but I trade a stock usually, and then I'll let it go, and I won't really trade it again.
Oh, yeah.
Just find random different stocks. I'll look around, and I'll see names that I haven't seen before, and I'll take a look. And if volume's good, and if the numbers are good to me, then I'll go ahead and trade it. And then I won't ever trade it again. Sometimes I go back and do retrades, but usually I'm just moving on to different stocks. I think it's a mental thing. I think it's just a mental block.
So
what about your time frame on these trades? Are you going in there short term, like as day trades, or are you looking more longer term, like week to week? Like, what's your time frame on some of your trades?
I do mostly day trades and then some overnight trades. A couple day trades, but nothing really longer than a week. I don't really see out past a week. I just kind of keep it in the intraday.
So what kind of charts do you use?
Good question. I use daily charts, or I will go out and look at like weekly charts and then like 60-minute charts and 5-minute charts. I try to look at all of them, and then I use all of the regular indicators. I just take a really broad look at everything, and then I get really focused on one stock and then just trade it.
Do you trade both sides of the market? Are you as willing to short a stock as you are willing to buy it?
Oh, definitely. I think I actually short more than I buy.
Okay.
There you go, Joel. That's our kind of girl there. So playing the short side of the market. I can remember like back in 2001 when I was trading. I don't even know if I had a long the entire year. I probably made like 50,000 trades that year. And it was always like that was when the tech bubble was bursting, and it was really good to play from the short side of the market. So you always got to be able to obviously go both ways there. Do you look at risk reward ratios at all? Like, do you kind of go and get like a target and say, well, I like this stock at $25 and I think it could move to 26. Are you setting it up that way, or like how do you set up like a whole risk reward?
Well, I always make sure that the reward is at least double what the risk is at the least. And then I try to make it, the ratio like maybe 1-to-3 or a 1-to-4 even, if I really have a good trade. But I have an entry, I have a stop, and I usually have a target of exactly where I see it going. I just think that that's part of risk management, and it's extremely important.
Okay, Evan's popping in here, and we always ask traders this. Do you remember your biggest winner and your biggest loser?
Yes, I can definitely remember both. Actually, my biggest winner just happened just last Friday. I made just kidding. I got out yesterday, and I made nearly 30% on this one trade.
What stock was that one, if you don't mind us asking?
That was I don't know, you may have heard of it. It's around the $10 stock. It's SGMA.
Oh, you're playing the Momos, huh?
Yeah, yeah, the Momos.
Yeah, and SGMA, we're pulling that up here. What was your strategy on that one?
Good question. I saw it was oversold.
That had a huge pop yesterday.
I remember it being oversold, and I remember it having a lot of good relative strength, and it just had a lot of power. And it was above the 200-day moving average, and it just a lot of technical things about it lined up.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and bought it, and it had just had a really bad drop, really heavy breakdown. I remember that, and I just thought that it was going to bounce back.
Right, so you probably snuck in around the $8 level, and then you got
exactly right at $7.99 is when I got.
Oh wow, nice trade!
Yeah, nice one. And how about early on? What was your biggest loser?
My biggest loser was actually trade number one, and I didn't even know it for the first 9 months. it was a stock recommendation, and I got in, and the stock was at about, I don't remember, like $1.50. And then it just, over the 9-month period, I kept holding it and holding it. And this was my first trade, so I didn't have a stop. I didn't have a target. I just bought it, and I was like, oh, this is going to go up because someone told me. And, yeah, I know. Sounds ridiculous when I say it now. But I think like over 9 months, it just dropped to like a quarter of a penny, and it's now worth like absolutely nothing. I think it might have been a pump and dump.
And you got caught at, well, you know what? You learned a lesson from it, though, right?
Exactly.
You started doing your own research. Do you pay much attention to the fundamentals? You know, earnings trends or rating changes. Is that a factor in your trading at all?
I like a little bit, but not. I mean, not. No, I guess not really. I mean, I'll look at those things, but they won't really have too much of an effect because I'm in and out pretty fast. And so I'm not too.
You're
concerned
focused
with
more on
that.
the technicals. You're focused more on the
Yeah,
technical
exactly,
side.
exactly. I'm not completely ignorant to the, I guess the financial metrics and other fundamental stuff, but I'm more focused on technicals.
Right.
Well, tell us about your site there, Rachel. Fox on Stocks. You've got this site here. Tell us about that and what you talk about on the site.
Okay, well, Fox on Stocks is a blog site. I started it summer of 2012, and I've just been blogging once a week ever since. And I blog on pretty much everything I see in the trading world, my trades. And I will also blog a lot on different, I guess, pop culture kind of things that I see going on and how they relate to the stock market. There's a Justin Bieber index. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I blogged on that one week, and just like, crazy stuff that I see that could be interesting to my generation, could maybe encourage my generation to get in to stock trading a little more, and also teach all generations about stock trading more and more, because I have a lot of people emailing me and coming to me who are people who are young like me, and then people who are in their 50s and 60s who want to understand this stuff more.
Okay. So like you're at your desk here early this morning. S&Ps. Do you follow the S&P futures at all? The indexes, or you just pretty much focus on your individual stocks and your charts?
I pretty much focus on my individual stocks and charts, but I definitely I try to keep a pulse on exactly what the whole market is doing.
Okay, so you're at your desk early this morning. What kind of trades are you looking at? What kind of setups are the radar? We got a nice pop yesterday, perhaps looking through some follow through in the day. Do you have any particular stocks on your radar?
I do. I have a couple. These are, once again, some randoms here. I don't even know if anyone is going to be looking at these, but a couple on my list this morning are one called Flex, F-L-E-X, Flextronic.
Yep.
Pretty bullish on that. I'm pretty, all of my trade setups this morning are long because I feel like, like you said, there's going to be a little bit of follow through after that pop yesterday. But a couple on my list are FLEX, NPCT, and ONNN.
Okay, so you're looking for this Flextronics here, bumping up against some highs here. So perhaps looking for some follow through from yesterday's move. 929 was a high, closed near that level. Not a big moving stock, but you perhaps looking for a breakout today.
Exactly.
Okay, and then you said NPCT or IPCT?
NCTC.
NCTC.
Yeah, do you trade those like $400 stocks at all, or is that just not free? Like the Googles and the Apples. Do you trade those high flyers or not? Or are they just not don't fit your risk reward ratios?
I look at them sometimes, and I definitely keep track of them. I have yet to ever trade Apple. I have not yet traded, or Google, actually. I've never ever traded one of those two, but I watch them all the time, and I always am hearing people speculate both sides on this one and that one. I think that's what kind of keeps me back a little bit is all of the heavy speculation. While it's good, because trader sentiment is important to a stock, it's crazy to hear both sides on one stock, and then because it's hard to know which side then people
Yeah, there
if you
is.
doubt what you think. So
Yeah, there's a lot of banner in those stocks, so it's good that
exactly.
that you pay attention to your own analysis. So you're also a musician, right? So what instrument do you play, and who do you like? Are you a Miley Cyrus fan, or who do you?
Actually, yes, I love Miley. I love her new album. I think it's fantastic. That's not the kind of music that we play, but I definitely have a high respect for, I guess, all music. I play guitar and I sing, and my band is called No Babies, No Bullets. And my favorite bands, my number one favorite band is probably Led Zeppelin.
Oh, really? We got a Led. How about that,
yeah.
Brentster?
Oh, yeah.
We got a Led Zeppelin. Oh man, Rachel, you were raised right there. You like Led Zeppelin here, so that's great to hear. Evan's popping in with one other question here. Do you have a favorite movie related to the stock market? Have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street, or do you like those kind of movies?
I am the only person on earth who has not seen Wolf of Wall Street, and
Me too.
I'm killing
Me too.
myself
Me
because
too.
I know it's ridiculous. Everything about that movie is beautiful and amazing and great, and I haven't seen it yet, and I don't know what I'm doing. I have to get to the movies ASAP. I haven't been to the movies in months, but I
You're
have
too
to go
busy.
as
You're
soon
too
as
busy
possible.
trading and everything else and working.
Okay, well,
I know exactly, but you got to make time for things like Wolf of Wall Street because come on.
Yep,
It's
you're
perfect.
involved in the market. So, okay, well, just to wrap things up, you've been involved for the markets for a while, self-educated. You did you did the paper trading, and you did a step up. But for people, not only youngsters, but we got all kinds of people that are in our chat room and stuff involved in the markets. What is the single best piece of advice you could give to somebody that wanted to get involved in the markets?
Learn how to be fearless. Learn how to
Ooh.
be very, very careful, but fearless at the same time. Be very planned and focused and specific when you trade or invest, but be absolutely fearless. Trust your gut, because I think the worst thing is to say, man, I could have done this or I could have done that. Just get into something, set your stops or watch it closely, do whatever, but just get in. And it's hardest to kind of take that first step and get in, but just be fearless and do it.
You got to trust your instincts.
Yep, you gotta be in it to win it. So okay,
Yes.
well, hopefully you're gonna do some movies here in Detroit or something, or be involved in the area. Maybe bring your band out to this area. We'd love to have you in the world headquarters of Benzinga and have you on as a guest on the show. Thanks a lot for getting up early this morning, and good luck with your trading. And we'd like to have you back on again.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Rachel.
Rachel Fox of Fox on Stocks, and she has a plan, Dennis.
That's what you gotta have. You gotta have a plan. You gotta attack with a plan. And she sounds like she's really. I love the way she talks about risk management, though, because it's the first thing you see. If somebody's starting in the market, they don't have risk management. That's what she's focusing on. She's putting a risk return on her trades. You can put any trade on as long as you have a way, and as long as you're managing the risk in the trade.
Right. Okay, Dennis, we're probably keeping you from getting ready from the open there, so we'll let you go here, and we'll go to Mighty Joe Young. We haven't heard much from him today.
Well, Joel, I'm just trying to master the puppet strings over here, but hey, how about Rachel Fox today, huh?
She's Fox on Stocks, man. The questions, she nailed them. She did it. She did a great job.
So what did she say? Her biggest winner was SGMA.
Yeah.
And what did she say about Flex? That's what she's looking at today?
Yeah, she's looking for a breakout in Flex today over the 920. And her worst trade, notice this, her worst trade was a tip that she got from somebody, and I think she just kind of bought it at $1.50 and didn't pay attention to it. But probably forced her to start doing her own analysis and get her where she is.
She bought it at $1.50. When did she get out of it? I missed it.
I think.
Or is she still holding?
I think she might have. I think she might have used that on her tax return as a loss.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, there we go. Yeah. So $1.50 and a prayer, huh? Well. Moving into today's editorial headlines from around the globe, the first lawsuit filed in a deadly New York City blast. A New York City woman has sued Con Edison over the explosion that leveled two apartment buildings last week. The New York Post reported that 46-year-old Michelle Nelson of Harlem filed the civil suit Monday, becoming the first to sue over the deadly blast. Nelson's lawsuit says she sustained severe and permanent injuries when the explosion caused her to fall in her apartment more than a block away. Oh, good. I'm glad there was a geographical location there, because I would have assumed she lived somewhere down on the Lower East Side. General Motors is recalling more than 1.7 million cars, vans, and SUVs and will revamp its system for overseeing safety recalls. Monday's callbacks are separate from last month's image-bruising recall of older Chevrolet Cobalt, Saturn, Ions, and other cars with bad ignition switches that are linked to 12 deaths. In a 4-minute video message to employees released by GM Monday, CEO Mary Barra said something went wrong with our process in this instance and terrible things happened. GM is expected to announce its creation of an executive position to head the company's global safety efforts, two people briefed on the plans said. Hertz said on Tuesday that it would spin off its equipment rental corporation, a move that would give the remaining company net proceeds of $2.5 billion. The separation is planned as a tax-free spin-off to Hertz shareholders and is expected to close by early 2015. The rental equipment business has 335 branches in the United States, Canada, France, Spain, China, and Saudi Arabia, as well as international franchisees. The business had $1.5 billion in annual revenue and rents out a broad range of equipment, including air compressors and tools, earth-moving equipment and power generators, forklifts, and material handling pumps and trucks and trailers. The company has been under pressure from activist investors. Last year, the company adopted a 1-year shareholder rights plan, commonly known as a poison pill, to thwart an investor from gaining control of the board. Taiwanese manufacturer Pegatron is investing in additional factory space and workers in order to cope with the high demand anticipated for the iPhone 6. According to reports, the smaller Foxconn rival, which produces the iPhone and iPad for Apple, is scheduled to start production of the new flagship phone in the second quarter. However, no date, specifications, or price have been leaked concerning Apple's anticipated mobile gadget. Citing anonymous sources, Chinese paper Commercial Times reported that Pegatron and Foxconn will be the primary manufacturers of the new iPhone, but did not specify how many units will be produced at Pegatron's factory in Shanghai or how many workers will eventually be recruited. It's an outrage you may not notice, but developers are furious. The publishing system known as Google's Developer Console first crashed midday on Sunday. Many app developers still found themselves blocked from uploading to the Google Play Store on Monday. Some developers noted the issue appeared to be resolved on Monday, but another posted in a Google forum, "Problems started again." Meanwhile, Android users don't have access to new apps and updates. Existing apps are still available for a download. Google's Android software powers nearly 80% of the smartphone market. Ibrahim Balik, a Turkish hacker, claimed responsibility for the attack. He said the developer console crashed when he tried to test a vulnerability he discovered. Balik wrote an app to exploit the flaw, which he expected to fail, but he said he didn't expect it to knock everyone offline as well. TV infomercial star turned convicted swindler Kevin Trudeau has been sentenced to 10 years after prosecutors accused him of cheating people out of millions in a fraudulent weight loss book. Trudeau, whose sentence follows his defiance of paying a $37 million fine, was slammed as a deceitful to the core by U.S. District Judge Ronald Guzman. Guzman or Guzman? I think it's Guzman, in Chicago on Monday. The 50-year-old still gave one last pitch before the judge, saying that his 4 months behind bars for November conviction had already changed him for the better. "I've absolutely learned a life-changing lesson from all of this," Trudeau said. The judge reacted with no sympathy, however, but instead publicly shamed him as cheating people since he was 25 years old. The deceit echoed prosecutors' own claims. Trudeau was described by them as preying on the sick, poor, and insecure when he released his 2009 book, The Weight Loss Cure They Don't Want You to Know About, which made $49 million in sales. With a roll of his eyes and a comment that he was good at using guns and knives, Chris Brown may have cost himself weeks of freedom and his chance to get back into making music anytime soon. Is it really called music? Or is it just noise? Chris Brown will be making noise for a little while. Sorry, Rachel Fox, if you're a Chris Brown fan. The reasons for Brown's dismissal from a Malibu rehab facility were detailed in court on Monday, with the judge ordering the Grammy. He won a Grammy? Gosh, they shouldn't give Grammys for that. They should give earplugs. With a judge ordering the Grammy winner to remain in jail until a formal probation violation hearing can be convened on April 23rd. The jail stint will be Brown's longest and comes more than 5 years after he viciously attacked his then-girlfriend Rihanna in a rented sports car just hours before the Grammy Awards. Superior Court Judge James R. Brandlin said he was most troubled by a comment the singer made during a group therapy session last week. What was the comment? We're dying to know. Oh, it was just about guns and knives? Oh, gotcha. He's a gun and knife slinger. That was the comment that was disturbing. So, today's trivia tidbit, ladies and gentlemen. On this date, in 1911, Irving Berlin copyrights the biggest pop song of the early 20th century, Alexander's Ragtime Band. Was it the multi-million selling smash hit that helped turn American popular music into a major international phenomenon, both culturally and economically? Joel remembers it, because he was around back then, 1911, right, Joel? Yeah, he's muted. So, though it gained worldwide popularity purely as a piece of printed sheet music, innumerable recorded versions of Alexander's Ragtime Band would soon follow, particularly after lyrics were added to what was originally an instrumental tune. Today's trivia question, ladies and gentlemen, Shubs is about to pop it in the chat here.
Dun dun dun.
Can you name some of Berlin's later, even more popular tunes? Can anyone name any of Irving Berlin's later, more popular tunes?
What was the old one that he
Alexander's Ragtime Band was the first international pop hit, biggest pop song of the early 20th century.
My first guess is going to be Bulls on Parade.
Bulls on Parade is Brent's guess. We have one, and I will just so. Is anyone?
When someone in the chat popped in, I'm dreaming of a
What did
white.
we get from the chat? Oh, mine hasn't updated yet.
Oh, really? I think we're.
Oh, I'm dreaming of a white. Oh, Colt's Luck. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Kurt, Jake.
How about who wrote When the Saints Go Marching In?
That is a question for Wikipedia.
Okay. I don't know. Did Colts Log win a free 3-week trial to Benzinga Pro?
Let's see. When the Saints Go Marching In is an American gospel hymn. Christian hymn often played by jazz bands, so I think that puts it under the traditional category. Correct answers that we would be willing to accept from some of Irving Berlin's later, even more popular tunes would be Colt's Luck, White Christmas, God Bless America, and There's No Business Like Show Business.
Okay.
Yeah,
so Colt's Luck needs to email Jake at benzingapro.com for his free subscription. Got a little frog in my throat.
He just choked a little bit there. Yeah, Colt's Luck, you just won 20,000 Benzinga Pro bonus points. Thank you for playing Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the games are made up and the points don't matter. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that the show would not be possible without our friends at Options House. They will give you 150 commission-free trades just for signing up for an account through this page. You'll notice they're still celebrating St. Patty's Day over there because everything is still green. No, just kidding. The only thing that'll be green is the money in your account after you sign up for the Options House account and get those 150 commission-free trades. That's money in the bank. Brent did it over here, and all of a sudden he's wiping with $100 bills. Can you believe that? Right, Brent?
Yes.
He doesn't like the new ones, though. They're too crisp, and they give him paper cuts.
Ouch. Ooh.
So, Brent, you got some... Did we talk about rating changes already? Did I miss that, too?
We talked about a couple.
I know that you probably talked about Hewlett-Packard already.
I believe we did. I am not sure if we talked about a Cisco one. I'm getting ahead of myself. Holy cow. Top upgrades this morning. HP upgraded from equal weight to overweight at Barclays. The firm boosted the target from $33 to $38. Shares currently trading around $30.04. Not a ton of upside there, but nonetheless, Barclays boosting that one to overweight. That's their equivalent of a buy. How's it looking, Joel?
You're right. You've popped over 30 in the pre-market trading. You did make a high just a few moments ago with 30.17. Not seeing a lot above the double top yet at 29.85. The major resistance to me coming in at 30.25 and 30.26. Double top from March 10th and March 11th.
All right, for this next one, I'm looking to see which one is the bigger mover. I'm going to go with Marketo. Ticker is Mike Kilo Tango Oscar. Upgraded at UBS this morning. They removing that stock from a sell, upgrading it to a neutral rating. Once again, the ticker is MKTO. Joel, how's it looking?
Come on, come on. Infoless writer. Having a little time here. Let me see if I can.
This is getting a big pop this morning. Up
yeah.
about 80 cents right now. Last trade at 36.95. We are over the 36.50 level.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a ton of volume, but here it did come up kind of slow. You did get a pop up to 36.95. A little bit of volume. This is not a heavily traded stock. Had some really bad news. Took it down under 34, and now lo and behold, you're back up at 37. I don't see anything in this thing. I see 36.65 was yesterday's high, so if it did come back to a pullback, I'd like to try and pick it up there, perhaps using a tight stop. Coming up on the upside, we don't see a lot until you get to 37.91. That was a high you had on March 11th, but that bell signals that
Ding, ding, ding.
we are open for trading here, and kind of an interesting open. We sprinted to 59.50 in the pre-market, and then we pulled back. 52.50 represents the mid-range. Didn't quite get back to that area, so I'll be looking at that as a potential support point. If we decline, just looking at the Tesla monster here. Did have some highs in the 236, 237 area. Opened up at 36.95, and I got a slight decline. So need for this move to keep going in Tesla. Let's push through that 237 area, or we could just sneak back down to the close. What else you got for us, Brent?
I was just going to say that I thought it was a pretty interesting morning in general. I mean, we had those Putin comments coming out, and the market started moving up around 7:20 or so, and he at that time around 7:20 this morning, he wasn't exactly saying anything, but nonetheless the market took off.
But he was saying something, Brent, and we had the argument, and I'm like, Brent, where's the news? Brent, where's the news? And you're like, there is no news. You always say that, but there was news.
What did he say? I
don't know. He said something. Someone thought it was good. I mean, his name is Putin. It's not Put. It's not Put or Put. It's not Putin. So whenever he speaks, the market's going to go up.
I don't get that one, I don't think.
Put. Calls and puts.
Oh, Joel, why couldn't you get that frog in your throat again?
Back. Joe, aren't you busy with the open here?
No, not now.
couple other notable rating changes this morning. We did have a couple of downgrades to mention. Cisco shares downgraded at Barclays. Barclays making a call on that group over there. They downgraded Cisco from overweight to equal weight, nudged the price target lower from $25 to $23. We have shares of Cisco trading
Cisco
21.31. Does that look right? I don't see many trades at the open here.
Yeah,
is that a quiet open?
Quiet opened up 21.34. Tick 21.36. I mean, it's stubborn here. You got lows from the previous 2 days at 21.27 and 21.28. So I mean, potential triple bottom here in the stock. I just not a lot of movement in Cisco off the Barclays downgrade.
Also, one more this morning, Cowen downgrading shares of Shutterfly from outperform to underperform. That is a few notch downgrade. They cut the price target pretty drastically here from $57 to $39.
Shutterfly, do you use that at all?
That's right. Oh, I do not, sir.
Lisa does.
I see Groupons for it a lot.
Yeah, no, that's the one that you take the pictures and you upload them and you make books and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yep. She uses that.
Getting kind of clobbered this morning, down about almost $3. I don't see any other news items on this one. It looks like that Cowen downgrade is just crushing this.
Cowen carrying a big stick here, and
right.
Shutterfly was sitting on all that support above the $50 level. A lot of lows in the 50, 18, and 23 area. We did just break below there. A hard sell-off off the open down to 45.41. Coming back up here, I mean, you get above that intraday 47.74. I mean, there's not a lot of resistance to fill the gap up to 50.18, but a lot of people are probably stuck on this one since it traded $55 only a few days ago.
Hey Joel, how about we take a look at I don't know if you're gonna like this one, but Oracle does have earnings tonight. Can we take a look at how that one's trading at the open?
Yeah, kind of like at the end of our earnings season, Oracle ORCL
Yep.
here. Kind of quiet last few sessions. Excellent support at 37.50 here. Breaking up above 38.50. Got to 38.58. I don't know. That might be it for the day. Had another high at 38.66 on the 13th. So I think maybe perhaps look for some position squaring ahead of the open. Higher open 38.37 was the low in the session. Get down to 38.22 to fill the gap. S&P's not holding here, making a high 55.50, pulling off a little bit. Folks, 52.50 represents mid-range on the day, so we'll keep an eye on that. Just a quick look at Hewlett Packard here. Sellers over the $30 level have got that stock in retreat here. High near the open and near the pre-market high. Hewlett Packard pulling back.
I feel like this portion of the show for the next couple weeks here is going to be the NCAA men's basketball portion of the show. So I'm going to turn it over to Jake
Okay.
on that note.
Yeah, Jake is taking a time out from doing his brackets here to give us his obscure stocks of the day. Or are you going to stick with some stocks that we're more familiar with?
Well, there's quite a bit moving out there, and I did see Yandex, the Russian form of Google, moving to the upside this morning. That was following some of those comments from Putin. That's YNDX, Yankee November Delta X-ray. That's one of the stocks that's publicly traded in the United States that can be kind of a play if you see a recovery in the Russian stock market. So
Really?
it's kind of an option there. I know a lot of the plays in this whole Ukrainian thing are, kind of from on the commodity side or on just futures in general, playing pure macro. But in this case, because it's a Russian company that's traded in the United States, you can get kind of some exposure to the Russian markets there. So if you see a rally coming, or if you're looking to do some kind of shorting, then this is another way to play it. So saw this one rallying a little bit this morning, primarily on some of those Putin comments, I think.
Yeah, rallied up to 31.92 pretty quickly off the open. It's interesting because since that turmoil has been going on in the Ukraine, they have really, that's been going on for a couple weeks, and they really whacked this stock here. Tried to recover today, got to 31.92. If it makes another run back up there, you had a high at 32.16 on the 12th here, so $32 level, pretty important. Coming back on the downside, you had a close. Boy, that thing just gapped up here. So if it can't hold this 31.12, we got a ways to go to get to settlement here down at 30.01.
Absolutely. So there's a few other names moving around today. GameStop was one of them. Did you guys go over that at all?
Yeah. Let's talk about the game.
Yeah, so GME, the other one moving with this is Walmart. So Walmart announced this morning that they would be accepting used games in exchange for gift cards. So you can go trade in your old video games at Walmart, get a gift card, whether you want to buy a new video game with that, or if you just want to go buy something else from Walmart, whatever. Which I assume that means they'll also be selling these used games as well in their electronics department. Well, this is one of GameStop's primary businesses, right? This is the whole reason that people keep going to GameStop. You can buy a brand new video game anywhere. You can go to Walmart, you can go to Target, you can go, obviously, GameStop. You can go online. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you can pre-order a video game and it'll show up to your house the day of its release, and you don't have to go out, right? But in this case, this was one way that GameStop had kind of a market cornered. You could go and always bring in a used game or used game system, and that was their business. Well, now it looks like Walmart's trying to eat their lunch here, and traders seem to not to be too happy about that, and that's just kind of continuing GameStop's decline here over the past couple months.
Spiked down a lot lower in the pre-market. Spiked down to 36 even. I do believe we had an analyst come out and defend the stock, so that kind of buffeted the loss a little bit. Still having problems. Tried to sneak above the $38 level. Got to 38.17 early in the session. long ways to go to fill the gap up to 38.88. So you'll find if the rally can continue, you're gonna find sellers all in that area. Coming down 37.35. If it takes that out, did have some support there in the pre-market, but we'll just keep an eye on the low of 36 even. That was the pre-market low.
Beside that, I'm trying to think of some of the other stocks that were moving this morning. I mean, we do have some earnings today. It's nothing too crazy. There was we had Hertz this morning. Did you guys go over them?
Yeah, that thing was hanging up there in the pre-market at the $28 level. Had some resistance there. Pretty wild session for it so far. Traded over 28 in the pre-market and also just traded under 27 recently. Didn't like that $28 level again. Got to 27.75 so far in the session. So just pretty range bound here between 27 and 28.
Yeah, I mean the company did miss on earnings this morning, 26 cents versus 32-cent expected. Well, revenue missed as well, and I know that spin out of the unit, it's going to generate some cash. And I think that might be, given a little bit of support right now. But you just got to wonder where it's going to go when you take away that unit. But I think that's for the bulls and bears to debate on the market today. Another one that did report earnings this morning was DSW.
Oh, yeah.
Designer Shoe Warehouse, 30 cents versus 29-cent expected. Revenue is $572.3 million versus expected $590.23 million. So beat on the bottom line, but missed by almost $20 million on the top. So a little bit of a miss, about equal amount that it missed on the top by the amount that it beat on the bottom. And looks like traders aren't really liking the results. Maybe the customers still can't find any of their products in the stores.
Yeah, exactly. No, they can't. They can only find one of them now.
The stores are a mess.
I know. Actually, Lisa took Emily over there and cleaned them out for about 6 pairs of shoes, but that wasn't reflected in this quarter's earnings. This one kind of had a delayed response. Only opened up 9 cents lower, 39.90. Made that 39.99. Close from yesterday and just couldn't find the buyers to take it back over 40, and then had a quick drop down to 38.14. Just want to alert our traders another level here at 37.97. That was low on March 3rd. So potential support there at the $38 level, and I'm sure if you climb back into the higher anywhere in the 39 should find sellers after that quick drop.
Yeah. If we're looking at the close today, we have a couple bigger names reporting earnings, including Oracle coming after the close, expected to do 70 cents per share. The same quarter last year was 65 cents a share. Expected to do 9.36 billion in revenue versus 8.97 billion last time around. So got to keep an eye on Oracle. Joel, do you have anything on Oracle right now?
It popped up 38.58 here. Did take out yesterday's high, but we are trading back below that level. Had another high at 38.66 here, so I just think people are going to be using this little bounce here perhaps to get square ahead of earnings. I'm looking out for minor support at the close at 38.22.
Another one reporting after the close is Adobe. And that's one we love to watch as a pair play with Autodesk. So Adobe's expected to bring in 25 cents, and that's compared to 35 cents last year. Well, revenue is expected to come in at 973 million versus 1.01 billion last year. So expectations are a little bit down. Keep in mind, Adobe has switched over to the Creative Cloud, so it's now a subscription service rather than a one-time fee. If you used to buy the package of Adobe software, I think it was like between $1,000 and $1,200 depending on what package you bought, unless you had like the student discount. But now it's $50 a month, I believe, is what it is. So that's what they're looking at for this quarter. Any thoughts on Adobe?
I'm not sure what inspired this march here in February from $57 all the way to $67. I don't know if that was analysts started getting giddy or something, but made that excellent move there in like 10 trading sessions, moved up quite a bit, and now you're finding major support here. You've had 3 lows right in the 60, just below 67, 66.63 to 66.87. So, wouldn't get too worried about it unless it took that level out. Yesterday's high seems to be defended right now, 68.62. So, kind of looks like just a little profit taking here, perhaps ahead of the earnings.
Speaking of profit taking, I wonder if somebody should be taking profits on Wisconsin's basketball season this year. I'm trying to decide whether they're going to make a run or not. What do you think?
I'm really mixed on it because they played Michigan and they beat them pretty good, and then they looked horrible against State. So
And they're so bad in March.
yeah, we'll see if Bo Ryan can rally them there, but we'll start working on our brackets here after we have our 9:45 meeting.
Yeah, for
here.
sure. Gonna have to. But what are you thinking about the Spoos today, Joel? We think we're
I
gonna
don't
continue
know.
this rally up. I mean, is everybody that happy that Putin just annexed Crimea? Is that all
Is that a good thing?
sunshine and rainbows now? I don't know.
I don't know. We just can't get up to that pre-market high yet of 59.50. So if you're getting short here, that's could be a potential target place. 57 and a quarter. The regular session high 59.50. The pre-market high. I'm still just keeping an eye on this 1852 level. And the reason I'm doing that is because you had the quick break from the all-time high at 1880.50. You went down to 1823.50 yesterday. That 1852 marks the 50% retracement of that entire move. That's also mid-range on today. So I'm not looking for a big breakdown in the market until we crack that 1852 level. That's our show for today, folks. I'm glad you guys enjoyed our interview. Nic Chahine giving us some good pointers on credit spreads. Rachel Fox giving us her strategies. Was a great show today. Thanks for participating, and we'll be back with you bright and early tomorrow morning.